I was silently staring at the text displayed on my smartphone screen. "Don't worry, Mom. Those two are going to hell." I was surprised by her words, but then deeply lost in thought. What could she mean by that? Is my daughter seeing the future again? My name is Lisa, and I'm 35 years old. My husband Mike is 37 and a regular office worker. We have a 7-year-old daughter named Lily. I am deaf. 5 years ago, I was in a car accident. Fortunately, I survived without life-threatening injuries, but completely lost my hearing and became deaf. I can speak without any issues, but I can't hear others. At the time, Lily was just 2 years old, and it was a challenging period for me in terms of childcare. Losing the ability to hear my daughter's words presented a significant communication challenge. However, as Lily grew older, she accepted my situation and began to express her feelings using gestures and simple sign language. Still, communication with Lily was sometimes difficult due to my hearing loss. It wasn't just about childcare. The accident also affected any communication with my husband. I tried to understand conversations by watching lip movements and used written notes to communicate, but my husband wasn't very proactive in this. Perhaps me being deaf and unable to communicate freely was a huge hassle for him. Gradually, he began to come home late, and it wasn't uncommon for him to return in the morning. "Where have you been until this time?" One day I asked my husband when he returned home at dawn. He was facing the other way, murmuring something. "Mike, turn around. I can't understand what you're saying if you don't turn around." While saying this, I lightly tapped his back.
"Be quiet."
He turned around abruptly, brushing off my hand. Then he quickly changed clothes, went to bed, and fell asleep immediately. Lately, Mike seems to be always irritated at home. He doesn't pay attention to me or our daughter, often engrossed in his smartphone. Even when our daughter Lily says, "Daddy, Daddy," he doesn't take his eyes off his phone and dismisses her with a gesture. Despite his cold attitude, Lily has been coming to me more often for affection. Even though Mike is physically present at home, his mind seems to be somewhere far away. That's how it appears to me. Sometimes I think if only I hadn't been in that accident. Maybe if I could hear properly and converse normally, Mike wouldn't have become like this. In this cold, distant household, I often feel disheartened. This can't go on. I shouldn't keep thinking such negative thoughts. I need to focus on properly raising our daughter. I encouraged myself, while trapped in a negative thought. My daughter has become my emotional support. There have been moments when I felt saved by Lily, who's moving on to the 2nd grade this year. One day, we went shopping at a nearby supermarket together. We live in a rented apartment. After locking the door, I started walking towards the supermarket with Lily. Just before reaching the supermarket, Lily suddenly grabbed my arm and started shaking it. "Hey, Mom! Mom!" "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Lily looked anxious. "Let's go back home, Mom." "Huh?" Surprised, I asked again. "Why?" "I just feel like we should go back home." I was a bit confused. We were almost at the supermarket, so why did we need to go back home at this moment? I couldn't understand. "We're not going back. Didn't we come here to shop?" However, Lily stubbornly insisted on returning home. "Then I'll go back home alone." Saying this, she quickly started heading back the way we came. In a panic, I followed my daughter. Lily couldn't enter the house without me unlocking the door. "Lily, wait! Mom is coming too." I chased after Lily, who was walking fast, and we finally arrived at the apartment. "Unlock the door, quick!" Lily urged me with a serious face. While complaining, I unlocked the door, and the moment I opened it, I was shocked. The room was filled with steam. "This is bad." I hurried to the stove and turned off the fire. I had left the stove on with a kettle to brew some tea and went shopping. The thought of what could have happened if I had left it on longer, or if I had continued to be out for a longer time, was frightening. "Thank you, Lily." I went over to Lily and hugged her tightly. "But why did you suddenly want to go back home?" "I don't know, but I just felt like we should go back home," Lily answered earnestly. It might have been like a sixth sense. Anyway, she had an uneasy feeling and insisted we go home. Could Lily have some special power to sense things? At that moment, I somehow thought of that. Sometime later on a particular Sunday, my daughter and I were playing in the park. Although I thought my husband was on his day off, he suddenly said he had to work and left the house in the afternoon.
It would be nice if Daddy could come with us.
Indeed. Lily looked a bit sad. To dispel her sadness, I decided to fully enjoy our time at the park. We played with the ball on the grass and ate the packed lunch, having a good time. When we returned home in the evening, the house felt strangely empty. After a while, I realized what had happened. All of my husband's belongings were gone. His clothes, shoes, personal items, everything. Even the suitcase that's usually in the closet was missing. So, I guessed he must have packed his things in it and taken them with him. No way. Suddenly, a wave of anxiety hit me. I quickly sent a message to my husband, but there was no reply. Days passed, and he didn't return home. I explained to Lily, Daddy can't come home for a while due to work. But my heart was filled with anxiety. My husband left the house suddenly without saying anything. The story about working on his day off might have been a lie. He must have packed his belongings and left while Lily and I were out. Still, I'm overwhelmed with anxiety, wondering why this happened, where he is now, and what he's doing. Then, events that further increased my anxiety occurred. Suddenly, debt collectors for my husband's debts started showing up at our house. I had no idea that my husband had been in debt. It was a shocking revelation for me. Without understanding why he borrowed so much money, debt collectors began to frequently visit our home. One day, after finishing my job at the factory and picking up Lily from after-school care, I returned to our apartment to find a man in a suit waiting at the entrance. He showed me the details of my husband's debt and spoke in a rough tone. The other residents from the apartment were watching from a distance, whispering among themselves. I quickly took Lily's hand and entered our home. Peeking out the window, I saw the debt collector leaving in his car. Lily was so scared that she remained crouched down in the room, motionless. Incidents like this continued daily. In addition to the debt collector's visits, we received a mountain of demand letters. Our small mailbox was overflowing with envelopes every day. It seemed my husband had borrowed money from several companies. I called his parents' house, but they didn't know his whereabouts. I even visited his workplace, only to find out he had already resigned. Desperate, I talked to my parents about what was happening. They suggested,
"Don't worry about the fee. Why not hire a detective agency to investigate?"
So I decided to visit a detective agency. About 2 weeks later, I heard the results of the investigation from the detective and learned a shocking truth. My husband had been in an affair for years with a hostess from a snack bar he frequently went to. He had moved to a small port town in another district with that woman, bought a used house, and was living there together. My husband had incurred significant debts buying her expensive bags and watches. He left me to deal with his debts and disappeared into an unknown town with his mistress. His current job was unknown, and the woman was reportedly working as a hostess again at a snack bar in that town. The detective showed me a photo of the mistress. She was in her 30s, with a bright and flashy appearance. The expensive necklace she wore might also have been a gift from my husband. I was also shown a photo of the house where my husband now lived. It was a small single-story house, seemingly over 40 years old, standing alone on a hill by the sea. The windows and shutters were rusty from the sea breeze, and weeds were overgrown around the entrance. Could my husband really be living there with that woman? There was also a photo of my husband and the woman walking together, looking happy. He had a bright smile that I hadn't seen recently, a truly happy smile he had never shown our daughter. In the photo, the woman was leaning on my husband's shoulder. Just imagining it made my anger well up inside me. The reason for his late returns and nights out must have been this affair. Even when at home, my husband barely communicated with me or our daughter, always on his smartphone, most likely messaging his mistress. But I couldn't help but think that maybe our strained relationship led to his infidelity. Had my husband lost interest in us, feeling burdened by the presence of me and our daughter? My anger gradually turned into sadness, and I couldn't stop crying. Subsequently, due to mental stress, my stomach condition worsened, and I became almost bedridden, unable to work. I asked my parents if we could move back in with them, and they gladly accepted us. Their home was conveniently located close to Lily's school, so she didn't have to change schools. When I was resting in the bedroom, Lily came running home from school. "Welcome back, Lily."
I'm home. Mom, are you feeling bad today too?
"I'm a bit better now. How was school?"
Well, actually,
"Did something happen?"
some kid says something weird to me.
Lily suddenly looked sad. "What did they say?"
They said that my dad disappeared.
"What?" I was surprised by her unexpected words. I don't recall talking about our family situation to anyone. Why would neighbors and other parents gossip about my husband's disappearance? Sometimes children overhear adults' conversations and pass them along to friends, sometimes in a twisted way. The seemingly innocent world of children can occasionally become harsh. One day, Lily confided in me that she was teased by a friend saying,
Don't you have any other clothes, Lily? You always wear the same ones.
Lily has grown, and due to our tight finances, I couldn't afford to buy her enough clothes. There are kids bringing up about Dad, aren't there?
Yeah, I didn't want to hear it. I still have a dad, right?
Yeah, I understand that you didn't want to hear that. I couldn't help but gently hug Lily. She was innocent in all of this, but she's being teased at school because of her parents' issues. Lily, I'm really sorry. I apologized to Lily repeatedly. There might be other hardships Lily is silently enduring. Just thinking about it hurt me.
Mom, get well soon from your sickness.
Yes, thank you. When I'm better, let's go to the park again. I thought to myself that this can't continue. For Lily's sake, I need to recover and start working again. Later, debt collectors somehow learning about where we lived started showing up at my parents' house. The usual man was smoking a cigarette near a black car at the front door. I hadn't properly spoken to him before due to fear, but I mustered up the courage and approached him. My husband lives at this address. I handed the man a piece of paper with the address I got from the detective. This debt was made by my husband alone. I'm bedridden due to illness, and my child is suffering. If you want to collect the debt fee, please go to my husband directly, not here. I said this confidently to him. The man narrowed his eyes sharply and stared at the paper I handed him without saying a word. Then he silently left and never came back to my parents' house again. One night I suddenly woke up. Due to the long days of being bedridden, I often found myself waking up frequently in the middle of the night. During those times, I'd feel anxious, and unknowingly, tears would start to fall. I wish I could just disappear. I unintentionally spoke out loud. Falling back asleep was difficult. I turned on the lamp beside my bed and picked up my smartphone to pass the time. Suddenly, Lily, who was sleeping next to me, sat up. Oh no, I woke her up. As I fumbled alone, Lily looked at me and suddenly spoke.
Mom, don't worry.
It seemed like Lily was mouthing these words. Her eyes were half open, still drowsy. She seemed like she wanted to say more. However, I couldn't understand what she was saying from her lip movements. I used an app designed for people with hearing impairments to recognize her speech.
Don't worry, those two are already going to hell.
The app displayed this on the smartphone screen. Huh? What do you mean? I asked back in surprise. Going to hell? What could this mean? Hey, Lily. Lily? Even when I asked, Lily didn't respond anymore. She laid down again and started sleeping as usual. I silently stared at the text displayed on my smartphone screen.
Don't worry, those two are already going to hell.
What could this phrase possibly mean? Was it just a sleep talk, or was Lily somehow seeing the future again? The past incident where Lily suddenly wanted to return home while we were shopping and we found the stove fire still on came back to me. If Lily hadn't insisted on returning, the kettle might have overflowed, burned, and the apartment could have caught fire. Does Lily possess a special ability that's beyond our understandings? And what she said recently, does it hold some deeper meaning? While pondering these thoughts, I fell back asleep. The next morning, I casually asked Lily about it, but she seemed to have no idea and looked puzzled. It must have been a dream. A week later, during the rainy season, in my area it has been raining continuously since last night. Around 2 p.m. I received a message on my smartphone. To my surprise, it was from my husband. I felt my heart rate increase rapidly. A mix of anger, sadness, and various emotions tangled inside me. Despite feeling panicked, I took a deep breath and opened the message.
Lisa, why did you give out my address? Debt collectors have been coming since morning until night, and I can't take it anymore.
So this was the contact from my missing husband, just a complaint about the debt collectors. The debt collectors had immediately shown up at the address I had given. I replied to him politely. They were also coming to my parents' house until just the other day. Then my husband changed the topic with a question.
How did you even find out where I was?
I responded to my husband's question with another question. I have so many questions too. Why are you living with that hostess woman, leaving me and Lily behind? After a while, I finally received a reply from my husband.
You? How did you know that?
My husband seemed quite surprised that I knew about the truth. Showering your mistress with gifts, burdening me with debt for that, and then running away with her to a distant place? You really should go to hell. I impulsively replied like that. Those words, go to hell, were exactly what Lily had sleepily said the night before. I was surprised at myself for sending such a message to my husband. There are so many things to discuss with him, like divorce, child support, and living expenses. I don't know how much impact my words had on my husband, but no more replies came from him after that. However, after 2 a.m., the smartphone by my pillow rang again with a notification for a new message. Since I wasn't sleeping deeply, I noticed it right away. It was another message from my husband. Why would he send a message at this time? With irritation, I opened and read the message.
Help me.
I read the message with a mix of surprise and confusion. What? I don't understand. What happened? I replied simply.
The cliff collapsed and the house is gone.
Huh? The house?
I'm trapped under things. I can't get out of here.
I shuddered. Was this really happening? It seemed strange, but it didn't feel like a lie. Receiving a message asking for help, I was far away and clueless about what to do. I was about to panic when I received another message from my husband.
The rescue team arrived and I was saved. It's all safe now.
Although the situation was unclear, the rescue team had arrived, and my husband was safe. Then another message came.
This place is full of frogs. It's like hell.
I almost laughed at this message. When I later learned the details of the incident, my smile turned to shock. Due to the prolonged rain, the ground of the hill where my husband and his mistress lived had collapsed. His single-story house, built on the edge of a cliff, looked questionable even in photos. The house had plunged into a field. The cheap, run-down house they had acquired had been neglected for a long time. The ground was weakened by the rain and the house collapsed. After decades, the house, which had become the love nest for my husband and his mistress, crumbled. Fortunately, their injuries were not life-threatening, but they were hurt. My husband asked for help via message because his smartphone was caked in mud and its call function was broken. Also, he hates frogs. The collapse of the house and falling into a frog-filled field was truly hell for my husband. The word hell made me realize something. Lily's words in the middle of the night,
Don't worry, those two are already going to hell,
had come true. Was it not just sleep talk, but a prophecy? Only my husband and his mistress's single-story house collapsed, with no damage to the surrounding homes. Such misfortune like this seemed almost unreal. I was enveloped in a strange mix of emotions. My husband and his mistress were rescued, and, after 2 weeks in the hospital, their injuries seemed to have improved considerably. However, they were facing a harsh reality. In the rural port town known for its talk of the couple from afar with a history, rumors about my husband and his mistress had quietly spread. Now, with this incident, it became public. Words like the house of a man with a wife and a child, and his mistress collapsed into a frog field. They deserve what they got. This is karma, circulated, and the townspeople kept on giving them the cold shoulder. My husband avoided their cold shoulder and rented an apartment in a more remote area, starting a new life. However, their attempt to restart their life together was unsuccessful. The mistress, fed up with constant visits from debt collectors and tired of my husband's joblessness and incessant spending, eventually left him. The fiery romance of their elopement couldn't withstand the pressures of reality. As soon as the financial support dried up, she left my husband. My husband, now without anyone to rely on and not knowing where to turn, messaged me asking to get back together.
Lisa, I'm truly sorry for everything. I've realized that you're the only one for me. I want to return to our happy life as a family of 3, like before.
I received such a message like that from my husband. What convenient timing for him to say such things. Now, after what everything happened? I know that someone like you will just cheat again.
It'll be different this time, Lisa. Trust me.
It's impossible to trust a man who started an affair and dumped his debt on me the moment I became deaf. I firmly refused.
I need you, Lisa.
Let's get divorced.
Divorce? Are you joking? I refuse.
It's only natural. Our relationship is over.
Trust me, Lisa. I can't love anyone but you.
Villains often casually profess their love. However, I had realized that my marriage to him was far from love. If you keep this up, I'll call the debt collectors and have them deliver loads of frogs to your room. After sending this message, my husband stopped responding. Ultimately, I hired a lawyer and formally divorced him, demanding compensation from both my husband and his mistress. Mike, burdened not only with his original debts but also with child support for Lily, suffered under increasing financial strain. After our divorce, he tried to get back together with the hostess, but his attempts were shattered by her remark.
I can't be with a man who gets scared over frogs.
Mike threw himself into physically demanding jobs, as ordered by the debt collectors, working hard to earn money. However, most of his wages went towards debt repayment, leaving him barely any for his own living expenses. His looks got worse significantly due to long hours of labor and financial hardships, making him look much older than his age. Furthermore, he faced a massive debt crisis after being demanded compensation by the owner of the field. Meanwhile, my stomach issues improved, and I was able to return to a normal life. At a job consultation at the City Hall, I was informed about an opportunity. A local major company is offering work opportunities for people with hearing impairments. Would you like to try an interview? Due to my health issues, I had to quit my part-time job at the factory, facing financial difficulties. I mustered up the courage to attend an interview for a new job. As a result, I received an employment offer as a full-time employee from the company. The job was well suited for someone with hearing impairment, and I was grateful to work in an environment that suited me. The salary was much better than my previous part-time job, providing some financial relief. In addition to receiving a regular monthly salary, I had more opportunities to interact with people in similar situations, which greatly enriched my daily life. On my days off, I spent enjoyable time with Lily, strengthening our bond as a family. With the support of my parents, her teachers, and many others, Lily's smile became brighter than before. Whether Lily possesses a special power is still unknown. However, it's certain that she will be a great help in my life going forward. I am determined to continue supporting her with all my strength until she grows into a fine adult.